New AEW signings, a huge return, plus so much more. It's all coming up right here on the Ango Show. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for stopping by. Don't forget, we got a giveaway at 100,000 subscribers. Don't forget, Drew McIntyre's contract is coming up soon. A lot of people have been wondering exactly what is going on with Drew McIntyre, especially because his contract was extended. It's expiring. Nobody knows if WWE will re-sign him. Now, PW Insider has dropped a massive update to the situation. They have reported that a deal with WWE and Drew McIntyre has not been reached, with the two sides having been in talks for the last several weeks. The holdup is actually with the terms of the new deal. Per the report with PW Insider, they're saying a source told them that Drew McIntyre's current deal expires in about 5 to 6 weeks. And should he not reach a new deal, he could be out of WWE as of late May 2024, or maybe even early June 2024. And this is very interesting because I think there's been so much talk about Drew McIntyre's contract situation. Obviously, we have talked about it a lot on this channel. But the one thing that really strikes as interesting to me is the issue that doesn't seem to be getting talked about. Now, there was somebody that was head of talent relations that was supposed to be responsible for literally getting people new contracts and negotiations and stuff like that. And now WWE had to get rid of that person because, well, that person was not getting people's new contracts taken care of. So there's a plethora of people who have yet to re-sign with the WWE, and that's because negotiations haven't actually started. Now, in regards to Drew McIntyre, I think it's really important that WWE re-signs him. It's his best character work we have ever seen. He's having some of the best matches of his career. He's creating some of the best moments in WWE television. And in addition to all of that, I think it is actually really important that we mention, he has this massive feud with CM Punk. I don't know if WWE would tease that if Drew McIntyre is not going to be with the company. Now, I actually think Drew McIntyre is the one who has all of the upper hand in negotiations, which is why it's so important that AEW exists. I mean, take it for what you want. I mean, if you genuinely hate AEW, if you genuinely hate their existence, just understand them being gone is absolutely terrifying, because not only does WWE not have that competitive bone without a number two, but I think WWE also, they're going to have talent that could leave their company, man, and WWE is going to have to re-sign them. So for AEW, if WWE is not giving these people new contracts, AEW has an opportunity to swoop them in. And I think it's really important that, you have multiple companies offering multiple big contracts. I don't think AEW and Drew McIntyre should form a partnership. I think Drew McIntyre is perfectly fine in WWE. WWE has handled him extremely well. It sounds like Drew has confidence, in WWE. We'll see what happens. But I think it's really important for people to understand that this contract situation is a real situation. And we could speculate all day, but we really don't know how Endeavor will do things now that TKO has formed. Back when Endeavor first got UFC, it was very common to see people walk away and go somewhere else. And we don't want to see that happen in professional wrestling. We want to see a company who actually cares about retaining talent. And the same principle applies to AEW. That brings us to our next topic of today's video. Eric Rowan looks like he could be headed back to WWE. We had been talking about this for a little bit, speculation and fantasy booking and everything like that. But now you actually have some very interesting stuff come out, because Eric Rowan was just pulled from an indie show. And in addition to that, you now have Matt Hardy posting the video footage of the glitches in the QR code during the New Day entrance on WWE Raw. So now you have to wonder if WWE is truly building out the Wyatt Six. I think it is far more likely that we see Eric Rowan and Braun Strowman tag teaming it up with this new group. I do think Matt Hardy is probably putting out these tweets to generate interest in the conversation of him as a free agent. He's been very open about not signing with AEW again. So you have to wonder if WWE's got multiple returns planned, if WWE's just got Eric Rowan planned. But Eric Rowan missing an indie show due to contractually obligated things. Like, obviously, it sounds that he signed with the WWE or another company. And more than likely, I think it's fair to speculate that it's the WWE. Now, I have said time and time again in my live streams, if I was building out the Wyatt Six, I think Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan, obviously being part of the Wyatt family, it's a big deal. There's also less pressure on Braun Strowman being a singles performer in a time period where everything is so crowded and there's so many people at the top. Having Rowan and Strowman tag team just makes a lot of sense. I've also speculated and fantasy booked the idea of Alexa Bliss joining the group, which obviously makes a lot of sense. And that leaves room for 2 more people. So I think the only other logical one that I could think of at this time is Joe Gacy. And that is because Joe Gacy was rumored to be Husky the pig or whatever. So obviously that is something to keep in mind, right? I think Joe Gacy would make sense because he played him when Bray Wyatt returned. There is a little bit of something, historically speaking, that adds to the logic of him being added to the group. That leaves room for one more. Could it be Matt Hardy? Now, listen, I'm going to say this. This Wyatt Six, Bray Wyatt, Uncle Howdy, spooky stuff is not for everybody. Me personally, it's something I enjoy. I've always enjoyed it. I mean, I grew up as a massive Undertaker fan. Big fan of Paul Bearer, Kane. Like, I like those weird, over-the-top gimmicks, scary, spooky, whatever. When Bray Wyatt came around, I absolutely loved it. So, with the Wyatt Six, I'm totally cool with them. I don't know how I feel about Matt Hardy because I think Matt Hardy, obviously he was a tag team with Bray Wyatt. So, it makes sense, right? It does make sense. But it would just be very weird for me to see Matt Hardy back in the WWE under that circumstance, especially because in AEW we got the nostalgia run. So that is something to keep in mind, but it looks like WWE is planning something here. The QR codes, the glitches, the teases, they are being done very well. And that brings us to our final topic. AEW looks like they're bringing in Motor City Machine Guns. Interesting stuff here. Cassidy Haynes of bodyslam.net has come out, says that per sources, the 2 sides are working on finalizing the terms of a deal, something that is said not to be done for a bit, but the decision has been made and a deal will be worked out. Look, man, Motor City Machine Guns, fantastic tag team. If I had it my way, I wish they could stay in TNA. I think there's been a lot of talk about Motor City Machine Guns right now, and I understand how they fit in AEW, and that's cool. But at some point, I do have to question, right? This was a concern years ago. It's now becoming a concern again. How many people do you have to sign to your company how many people do you have to sign to your company to get back on track? That's how I look at it, right? And I genuinely mean this. I think AEW 2024 has been good, but now you're getting to the point where you're just signing free agents. And look, I have no problem if you want to sign free agents, but your product has flaws. So how are these signings going to fix those flaws, right? WWE brought back Andrade, but what problem did WWE have before Andrade showed up? There was none. But you brought in Andrade and you found a way to fit him into the mold right away. Now he's part of a big storyline with the Judgment Day. I think you got to do the same thing with Motor City Machine Guns, right? You bring them in, make them a big part of your tag team division, all will be well. Now, the reason why I'm not actually against Motor City Machine Guns going to AEW is because AEW no longer has Ortiz and Santana tag teaming together. And for that reason, they have a spot for a tag team to be on TV. They're a fantastic tag team. They're going to do fantastic things on television, and I hope it works out for them. But I do want this to be a big focus for AEW. Not just signing them, not just bringing them in, and then, they win the tag team titles. I want to see them actually be part of the show and actually be a big part of the show because that's what the tag team division needs. But ultimately, it would make more sense for them to be in TNA because they're obviously TNA guys for a very, very long time. And I think one thing you have to consider is that TNA keeps losing talent now. So it would be nice for TNA to retain them. It doesn't seem likely, but there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. MCMG headed to AEW.